talking about the festival, and I know a little bit about the history, and this will be my 12th year. So, and I've attended several of the first ones, uh, and like I said, it's really about promoting the festival.
Absolutely. So I'm just pulling up the lineup here, just making sure I've got everything up on my screen so that nobody
Yeah,
has to
me
wait
too.
for me to pull
Me
things up
too.
when it's time. So
Yeah.
I was just getting all my little dates, getting everything wrote down here. So we've got you on. So are you going to be there another quick, just logistical question between us. Are you going to be there all weekend, or you're just coming for your Friday and then the band competition on Saturday? Is that right? Trying to figure
Well,
out
I'm
when I
planning on being there. You're trying to figure what's that?
I was trying to figure out when I could talk to you either, before or after your set or something there on site, on Friday or whenever would work for you. So I'm planning on being there Friday in the afternoon. So I thought that might be a good time, but
Yeah, I'll have plenty of time. I'm actually gonna go down Thursday and probably cut out Sunday morning. But that's the only thing I have to do on Friday that I'm aware of right now. I mean, sometimes they will grab me, Danielle, with Victory Lap, or Lindsay or somebody. They may grab me to do an interview, or interview someone, or need an extra MC for somebody that's not shown up or something like that. So
so you
I
make
kind
yourself
of
available. That's good.
I make myself available. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Cool. Okay, good. Well, then I think that's like my main logistical questions. Otherwise, we can kind of just jump into it here in a second. So, thank you so much, folks. Got Jenny here with WPVMs, having a nice coffee chat with Mark Bumgarner, who's going to be performing and hosting the band competition at this weekend's Merlefest. So Thursday, April 24th through Sunday the 29th, Merlefest is back, and we're very excited to be talking with Mark about that. So cool. Thanks for joining us, Mark. I appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So as you and I kind of chatted over this whole time, you've been a veteran of Merlefest for quite some time now. You said this will be your 12th Merlefest.
12th, with a festival that's been going on as long as it has been. Maybe I'm getting close to the veteran point. I don't quite consider myself that quite yet, but I just always appreciate them having me back, and uh, always enjoying being there.
Well, that's fantastic. So let's talk a little bit to start off about the festival itself, and then we'll get into your music and your musical background a little bit more. But the festival, so you've got a great relationship with them. You're going to be performing on Friday at 12:15 on stage 3. And then also you're going to be judging the band competition on Saturday. So how'd you get involved with this? Obviously, Merlefest is a really important folk festival for our area, and it's keeps the history alive as well as brings new artists into the scene. So let's talk about your relationship, how you got involved, and why it's so important to keep Merlefest going.
Well, the first year that I played was 2013. I had a now good friend Steve Johnson, who was the artist relations head of artist relations back at that point in time, and he was always just a good advocate of me and what I did regionally. And anyway, got the call one day to wanted to know if I wanted to play it, which of course I did. And being from the area and obviously knowing all about Merlefest, uh, played 2013 and then 14, and then in 2015 is when Steve asked me if I would host the band competition, which is so we're this would be the 11th year. It's actually the 10th year. I always have to do the math and subtract a year. Since 2020 we didn't have a festival, so again, so I've been doing it since 2015, and just one thing's led to another.
That's
Been
fantastic.
able to do a been able to do a handful of other things. Steve and I started a project back in the a little later. We had a Merlefest radio hour going for a little while. that kind of came and went that we were doing in conjunction with WNCW, and then also I've been fortunate to, I guess as they like to characterize me, be the voice of Merlefest, since I've done their commercials and voiceover stuff since, I guess, probably about that same time, 2015, with the exception of this year. I think I had told you that I yielded to the great Ray Benson of Asleep at the Wheel. And you listen to this year's Merlefest ads, and it's, "Hi, I'm Ray Benson with Asleep at the Wheel." And I'm like, okay, yes. And as I told him, I didn't mind sitting the bench this year for someone of Ray's stature.
Nice of you to share the limelight there, Mark. That was kind of you. Very
Oh,
humble.
again, just whatever they need me to do, I'll be glad to do it.
That's fantastic. So then let's talk a little bit about your musical style and your background, maybe a little of your family background in the area, and kind of how you got started into music to get into this position here as the voice of Merlefest.
Well, I'm a Western North Carolina boy. I have played this region and this area since I was in my early 20s, which was a long time ago. Uh, I in my earlier years, I did do some touring with bands nationally, mostly just bands that would form in the area. I did spend a decade out in Nashville and got to do a little bit of sideman touring back then. That was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Moved back to Western North Carolina 20 years ago, actually, and have pretty much focused on at least what I do regionally. I'm I fall into that singer-songwriter category, and so my style is it's a very mashed up conglomeration of a lot of different styles, as everything from the influences that I had as a young, growing up in Western North Carolina, which is, the bluegrass, the folk, that sort of thing, to, wanting to be a rock and roller at one point and all of those sort of things. But it's my friend Steve that I mentioned earlier. He said he pegged me as Southern Americana. It's very much in the Americana basket, but very Southern as well. So anyway, that's kind of a general take on what I do, and fortunately, again, kind of focused more regionally over the past couple of decades, especially after I got a little older and started having kids and trying to and wanting to be a little closer to the house. So
Yeah, and it sounds like that's playing to your strengths as well. You're using that wonderful fodder from your youth and growing up in this area with all of the musical talent and certainly the uniqueness to the region here with the different types of music, and keeping that alive, but adding your own new flavor into it, and bringing the feel of home, as you said. And I think, to me, some of the conversations I've had with other artists around Merlefest is the attitude and the historical significance of the music from our area, but also bringing that to life for new generations and keeping that storytelling going through the music. So I think that that's wonderful that you're adding more to the catalog for specifically Western North Carolina. That's pretty cool there. So
yeah,
let's talk
well,
a little bit about,
I mean,
yeah.
Doc kind of started that. That was his whole thing. Is he was one that really didn't like to be pigeonholed or put into a box, and that's a part of so much of what the festival entails, and the bringing so many different types of artists into the tent, and the phrase that Doc coined was traditional plus, and putting a big emphasis on that plus. So I don't know,
Absolutely.
maybe it's just a Western North Carolina thing.
wonderful. We're proud of that. And so then there's a lot of different acts that are going to be there this year. Is there, and it gives a lot of opportunities for collaboration, folks playing together, having those spontaneous jams, that some of those things that just make it such a beautiful experience, a very organic and spontaneous kind of experience at times too, right? Everything's planned part of the schedule, but once you get all these artists together and all these folks, some real magic comes out of that you can't plan for ahead of time, right? So
absolutely. There's been some mighty jams in the past. Many years before I had the opportunity to participate, I was at many of the early festivals. I didn't go to the very first one, but I was at the second one through about 95, I guess. So I was either front and center or through friends of mine that allowed me to get on the side of the stage or wherever, saw those jams that was Tony Rice and Sam Bush and Bela Fleck and Jerry Douglas and Mark Schatz and Mark O'Connor. And I saw many of those, and it's, you can go on YouTube and see them now, and it's like that. It doesn't get any better than that.
That's right. And, it's those are some household staple names, but we've got a lot of artists that might not be those staples yet, but looking into the future, that you're going to have those same kind of feelings about the artists that are going to be on stage this time, even if you don't know them
Absolutely.
as those household names like we do now. So are there anybody in particular that you're excited about playing with or getting to see this weekend that you'd like to chat about?
C-wise, I'm off the roof about getting to see Bonnie Raitt.
Yes.
When I heard that one, I was like, oh, that's one of those that's on the list that I've never got to see. And I missed her. I hope I get a chance to chat with her a little bit because Bonnie, many years ago, and this would have been at least 45 years ago, if you're familiar with the legendary music hall P.B. Scott's that was in Blowing Rock, it was a wooden 3-level dome that had just the lineup. If you ever get a chance, Google P.B. Scott's lineup. And I mean, everybody from B.B. King to Bonnie Raitt to, Hartford. And there was just, the list just goes on and on of these people that came to Blowing Rock. And it was
I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed.
You need to look into the history of P.B. Scott's because it was a stop along the East Coast that the artist could pick up a weeknight date, but it was managed, and the fellow that did the booking of all the acts is a man named Randy Kelly, who has been the main stage manager at Merlefest for however many years now. So, and it was one of the first real places that I think I was 17 when I first played there. So I was underage, and so it holds a special place in my heart. I always say that I got my musical education in that building, hanging over that rail, watching all of these legendary artists, one right after another. But Bonnie Raitt was one that I missed. So I hope to get to ask her, do you remember playing P.B. Scott's? So anyway,
that's cool. Well, isn't that interesting how, things kind of come full circle, because you might have missed her there, but you're going to see her on the stage that's managed by the same guy that would have booked her back then. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
But there's a lot of great art. There's a lot of great artists this time that are going to be there. Obviously, everybody's always excited to see the Avett Brothers coming back. And what a great story. I mean, they grew up as kids going to Merlefest every year. Yeah. I mean, that's such a great story.
Yeah, full circle. I love it. Absolutely. And inspiring more memories and more of the same kind of musical, dreams that for other people that are going to be there, other kids, they don't know who they're going to inspire that might be out there in the crowd that could be the same as them one day.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate that. It really feels like the artists and, those that work to put on the festival, it feels like a family affair. It's like, even if you don't know everybody, the artist's there and everybody is there for the same experience and the same love of music and expression. And that just makes it family. So I think that it's a really great opportunity that we have to get experience, like you were talking about going to that PB Scott's growing up and getting to see all these acts and things, and we're getting that same kind of thing from Merlefest right here in our own backyard. So what a great opportunity.
Absolutely. And just, I can't say enough good things about the festival, Wes Whitson and his team, and how they put this thing together, and again, how they include so many people that makes it and gives it that family feel. I mean, everybody from an absolute history book, legendary artist like Bonnie Raitt to, a regional performer like myself, people, or performers like Charles Welch, who was Doc's picking buddy, or, just I went to Wagga High School there in Boone, and my classmate Jeff Little, who is just a phenomenal piano player that grew up sitting at his father's music store that Doc Watson used to come hang out. And so as a kid, he played piano sitting next to Doc Watson on more occasions than he could ever remember. And when you hear him play, it's like, yep, you hear those guitar licks in that piano. It's like, so many elements, between that and people like Sam Bush, who have been at every single festival and was, played on so many of the early Doc and Merle records that's there every year. So again, it's the bringing so many elements into the festival and continuing to have that to perpetuate the legacy and again, make it, give it that family feel.
That's perfect. And I just want to go back to one thing that you said in that, because you were talking about how, he was sitting at the piano and playing, and you can hear the guitar licks in his playing, now, right?
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
is so fascinating, because that's history that's locked into those notes, that even though Doc's not there playing with him, he's still playing that music the way it was for him in those memories. And so think of, like,
Absolutely.
to extrapolate that on how, oral history and musical history works, and all those little things that we don't think about, but they've all added up into this style of music and have affected everybody that's learning to play afterwards. So
Yeah. And Jeff, and it's
that's
just,
amazing.
yeah. And there's a host of others that participate in the festival that's, basically disciples of Doc. Whether that's, again, Sam that played on
That'd be
so
a
many
great
of his
band name. I'm sorry,
disciples of
that'd be a
Doc,
great band name. Disciples of
or
Dog.
they, or brand one of the segments on the festival,
Yeah,
disciples of Doc.
I love it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all right. I may have to pass that along.
That's good.
That's just like my good friend, not to jump too far off the subject, my good friend Kay Crouch is the one that coined the phrase Merlefest, because, it was originally the Eddie Merle Watson Memorial Festival, which is a mouthful.
It's that's right. It's not a good acronym there. Yeah, we did good with
No,
that.
no. So anyway, but yeah, the whole disciple thing, you've got, obviously T. Michael Coleman that played bass with Doc and Merle for many, many years. Joe Smothers, who was in Frosty Morn with those folks, Jack Lawrence, who when Merle decided to step away from the act in the early '80s, that played with Doc for 20 years. So many people that actually got to play regularly with Doc, and now are continuing on, and still putting out their music, but there's certainly a good dose of Doc in there.
I love it. And that's how we weave that web of history. And I guess I want to bridge into a little bit more about your history and kind of that preservation that it feels like you do kind of just naturally, right? You're a storyteller. You kind of gather your environment and produce it for others through your music is kind of the way I feel about it. And so I guess just kind of talking about maybe your inspiration around music and growing up, a little bit about your family, if you don't mind talking, and kind of how you
Yeah.
got that bug
Well,
to kind of just bring things together into music.
it's weird. I've got friends who grew up in musical families, but I did not. I have
Okay.
no idea why. I've got the pictures of me standing there in my diaper with a Roy Rogers guitar, plastic guitar when I was whatever. All the way through my whole life, I've never known anything different. And it's really even hard to explain because it's just like my kids. My kids are very musical. And they know things that they don't even know why they know them and why other people don't readily recognize or understand or feel or hear or put it together. They don't even know. And I feel like so much of that was me growing up. Uh, but absorbing, I'm like everybody else. There's a lot of stuff I like, and there's stuff that, whatever. But I'm as a young child of the '60s, too young to catch the folk wave, but old enough to, okay, the Beatles. I know what that is. I know what that is. So, and then as a, I think the first time I saw Doc was probably I was maybe 12 or 13. My father was the district manager of Blue Ridge Electric in Watauga County, which Doc and Rosa Lee were members of that's where they got their power. So they had an annual meeting every year, and for several of those years, Doc and Merle would play those annual meetings, and this was early to mid '70s when they were absolutely on fire. So taking that in, and I want to do that.
Yeah.
I've never been able to do that, but I do what I do. As I like to say, it's not what you don't do; it's about what you do. And I finally, after writing a whole lot of bad songs, I finally got around to, well, okay, that one's pretty good, and well, okay, there's another one, and you finally build a repertoire of stuff that I'll be playing the rest of my life. And so between that and I always say I do songs that I wrote, songs that friends of mine wrote, because I'm fortunate to have a lot of just phenomenal songwriting friends and co-writers, and then the songs that I wished I'd have written. So that's
I
kind of
love
my
it.
repertoire right there.
That's awesome. Well, that kind of brings me to my next question because, we totally hyped up the Merlefest experience for our listeners and talked all about how important it is to us. But when you go to thinking about building your set list for Merlefest, is that easy, or what are you thinking about? What are you taking into account when you're coming up with the songs that you're going to be playing for the good people out there?
Interesting, because that is exactly what I'm going to be doing as soon as we are done this morning.
Fantastic.
All right, maybe we can sit here and figure this thing out. I don't know. I mean, there are the ones that I always play, and then the ones that I try to get a couple of different ones than the ones I did last year or the year before. I always try to throw in a couple of covers, because I always say I don't do anything like the record, including my own. Just to make people think, okay, wait a minute. Oh yeah, that's what that is. The try, that whole interpretation thing. I always say too that if I could only play my own songs, I'd bore myself to death, because there's so many great songs out there. I've always considered myself a musician first, because that's what I was first. That's what I've done, and so again, just trying to find things that fit together, that flow. The other problem is a 45-minute set is more about what do you leave out than what gets left out than what gets put in.
I have that
So,
problem on the radio a lot. I get that one. Yeah, I understand.
yeah. So, I just, again, it's just a combination of those things. Again, I'm so fortunate to not only get to co-write, but have friends that are just phenomenal songwriters, and I've got a couple of songs that it's like I've either played with them or heard them friends do, and it's like as soon as I hear that, I was like, I'll be doing that the rest of my life.
I love it.
So, yeah.
Do you feel like there is, just for yourself, not that this is a written branding or anything, but just curious if you felt like this year's Merlefest, you've got a lot of Merlefests under your belt, whether you consider yourself a veteran or not. You got 12 at least. So what would you feel like in yourself is the theme of this year's Merlefest? How are you feeling in your heart about what's the message going to be in the soul of Merlefest this year for the people?
All right, Jenny, you're going to have to ask me that again. We were having that little bit of
glitchiness. Just some having some glitchiness.
So sorry. We were doing get perfect. Up to the 26-minute mark.
Perfect. No, I was just thinking, you've been at Merlefest. Now I consider you a veteran, whether you do or not. But I was wondering if you felt like there was an unofficial message in the soul of Merlefest this year. Is there a feeling or something special in the heart of Merlefest that you feel this year?
I just think it's the continuation. I think that, and I think that is the thing that they have done so well, is that even through, the tough couple years that we all had in 2020 of canceling the event, then wanting to have it at our regular time in the last weekend in April in 2021, and then having to postpone it till September of 2021, and then turning right around and getting back on track in 2022. How well they navigated that, and have, again, just continued to put on, as far as I'm concerned, as good or the best festival that there is in the country, and do it always bringing great artists, always doing it with integrity. There's not a lot of the chintzy, cheesy stuff that some music genres and worlds that's a part of. But Merlefest is always, again, I think just the integrity that they have always displayed, and the never forgetting about where the festival came from, why the festival is there, the legacy of Doc and Merle Watson, and fostering that from 8 to 80, as they like to say, or the phrase goes. So,
that's fantastic.
I'm just looking forward to another good year.
I love it.
Maybe maybe a little damp, but
but not in spirit. No, that's
not
awesome.
In spirit at all.
Right. That's great. Well, we are definitely looking forward to catching your set at 12:15 on Friday at Stage 3, the Creekside stage there at Merlefest.
The Creekside stage, yes.
And then you will be judging the band competition on Saturday. Tell us what time the good people can see that.
Well, first of all, the best part of my gig on the band competition is I am not a judge. I am
I'm sorry.
I'm the host.
I apologize. I completely misspoke there.
Which is great. Now, if it's close, I may chime in with my opinion. But
sure. Hosting the big competition, yes.
The best part is I am not a judge. So,
okay.
Hey, I'm good all the way around. But that starts at 11:45, and there's 8 bands that run through around 3:30, and then we announce the winner at 4, if I'm still right on my times. It's each band gets 15 minutes.
Okay.
And that the it has evolved over time as well. The competition, it kind of started out like a lot of these competitions. Uh, it was, and pretty much like the festival, it was a little more bluegrass and folky oriented. It
Hmm.
was kind of patterned after a lot of the conventions and festival competitions where it's like, okay, play a slow one, play an instrumental, play a vocal, you know, those sort of parameters. But we discovered over the years that, especially looking at the festival itself and the variety of artists that are there, and it's really evolved into, you do what you do best. We're going to give you 15 minutes to do that. We
Yeah.
want to see how you engage the audience. We want
Mhm.
to see, show us what you got on, your original material, your interpretation. If you're going to do a cover tune, let's see what you got there. Uh, then there are also little things like, you've got to be within the 12, I think it's 12 to 15 minute window. If you're too short, you get deducted points. If you go over, you get deducted points. So, it's about hitting your marks,
Yeah.
so to speak. So again, that has really worked well over the last several years, especially bringing in a variety of bands to compete, because some bands are more vocally oriented, some bands are more instrumentally oriented, some bands are electric, some bands are all acoustic. So it has again widened that tent as
And
well.
I love that because it really it turns it into all the aspects that are important for a really rock solid performance, right? It's not just a matter of opinion on who's a better band than another, right? You're really looking at all those aspects, and that makes it fair, and then also holds the artists themselves to a higher standard that they want to be performing and showing off at. So I think that's a
Well,
great
yeah,
model.
it does. It does. It gives them the opportunity to be artists,
Hmm.
and that's again, that it has worked well for the last 4 or 5 years that we really retweaked the competition.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to that, and thank you for clarifying my little spiel on that. So the band competition is going to be starting at 11:45, and there's going to be 8 bands.
11:45.
They get 15 minutes each, and don't miss it. It's going to be a really fun time. A winner announced at 4. So that's awesome.
Correct.
What else do we need to know about this wonderful festival, Mark, before we look forward to just seeing you there?
Bring a raincoat.
That-
Well, they always say pack for all seasons,
That's right.
and that
Western North
is so
Carolina, we
true. I
should
mean,
know.
I have been there when I was just had sweat beading off my forehead, and then other times that I've had a fleece, a hoodie, and a jacket on all at the same time. And so it's just be ready and have a good pair of walking shoes so that you can get around. The festival has 11 stages across the grounds, all the way from the creek side on one end, which again I'll be at 12:15, and the hillside stage, which is on the other end of the campus, or the Walker Center, which is the indoor facility where it kind of all started, between the Walker Center and a flatbed trailer in front of the cabin in 1988. So 11, we've gone from 2 stages to 11.
Fantastic. And they are
Yeah,
all filled with a wonderful lineup, which you can find more
absolutely.
information out about Merlefest. We've got merlefest.org, and you can get a printable schedule there, or you can view it online and check out all the amazing acts, including Mark Bumgarner, who is going to be performing on the Creekside stage at 12:15 on
The Creekside
Friday.
stage.
Yes, at
Also, there is a
stage 3.
there,
Yes.
oh, I'm sorry. There's a great app that you can download that has all of the artists. It tells when they're playing. You can actually save them as a favorite, and it will cue you. You can set you up an itinerary that will let you know, okay, this is getting ready to happen. This is, you need to start making your way this way. I mean, it's a great, great app.
I'm not living in the 21st century. That's amazing. I had no idea that that was even a thing. Is this the Merlefest app? Is that what I'm hearing right now?
Yep. Just
That's
go to the App
amazing.
Store and Merlefest 2025. My daughter and I sat on the phone for an hour the other night, going through it. Okay, yeah, this one, we needed to do this. So,
Oh,
yeah.
you should be able to save other people's itineraries on there so we can see what you want to go do and go meet up at those sites. That's fun. No, I think that's great.
There's a few on there.
That's awesome. Thank you for letting us know about the app. So merlefest.org and then the Merlefest 2025 app as well. That's awesome, Mark. Great information. We're really looking forward to joining you there on Friday and seeing you around at the festival. Appreciate that.
I hope to see you Friday afternoon, right?
That's it. 12:15. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Good. Great. Well, then, I